Portman, the Republican senator from Ohio, who said that it was sending mixed messages, especially when we have a trade deal. And I believe the senator joins us right now. Senator, good to have you.
Hey, Neil. Thanks for having me on again.
I know your concern, Senator, was that these tariffs, referring to what the president is looking at doing in response to what he claims the Mexicans are not doing at the border, would be unprecedented, possibly illegal, and maybe even unconstitutional. So you think he's making a big mistake?
Well, I think we ought to get USMCA done. This is the agreement that a couple weeks ago I was told is the top legislative priority of the White House. I think it's a good agreement. It's going to add hundreds of thousands of new jobs. It updates a 26-year-old agreement, NAFTA, that has to be improved. So, you know, this is a great victory for the president. And on the very day that the Mexican Senate received the introductory language from their government saying pass this thing in Mexico, the same week that the Canadians sent it to their parliament, you know, we're talking about slapping on some additional tariffs, which obviously is at the heart of any trade agreement, is that you want to reduce tariffs. So it's going the wrong way in terms of getting USMCA passed, both in those countries and also here in Washington. So my hope is that we can recommit ourselves to getting this trade agreement done. It's the president's priority. He did a good job negotiating it, and let's focus on that.
The president doesn't think you and your colleagues will do anything about it, despite your concerns. What do you say?
About the border? Look, I agree with him on the border. It's a tragedy what's going on there.
No, about linking this action to deal with the border.
Oh, well, we don't know, because this is a case of first impression, so the lawyers are kind of all over the place. But it looks like the statute that he's using to invoke these tariffs, which never been used before for tariffs, by the way, probably would end up with a vote here in Congress. And that's a bad thing, too. Let's not go through that process again. We already voted once to disapprove the president on the national security issue of the national emergency at the border. He then vetoed that, and then it was not overridden. Why go through that again? So I think.
Why do you think he did it, Senator? Some people say cynically he was just deflecting from the Mueller stuff. Who knows? But that this.
No, I think he's legitimately frustrated by the border, and I get that, and all Americans should. And
well,
I think he's
frustrated.
He could
have done this months before.
Well, but I think he is increasingly frustrated that Democrats aren't willing to step up and support him in changing the asylum laws and dealing with this magnet we've now got, where the United States is drawing these people in because of bad laws. So I understand his frustration. But again, this is a distraction from that, and frankly, it doesn't address the core issue, which is these people will still be told by traffickers, hey, go to America, claim asylum, you can get in, your court date won't be for a couple years, you can go to work, you don't have to show up, and you won't be caught. And that's a bad message. And nothing changes if you put a 5%, 10%, 25% tariff on Mexico. It does change is two things. One, USMCA ends up being jeopardized. Two, we take the focus off China, which is where the real trade focus ought to be now, and we ought to have all countries in the world helping us there. Right. And third, they'll retaliate. In other words, Mexico will put tariffs on our stuff. So we love Mexicans buying our products from Ohio. We sell a lot of agriculture and manufacturing products to them, and it's bigger than China for us. It's a big market for us, as it is for America. So number one trading partner, you don't want to get in the way of that. So my hope is that we'll find tomorrow, when the Mexicans come up here to talk, that they will agree to some additional measures, perhaps taking more of the asylum seekers in Mexico and allowing them to stay there, which would make a big difference. And we can work through this and avoid going down that path.
All right, we'll watch it very closely, Senator, and you're quite right. President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador is already talking about improvements he's already made along the border to deal with those cases. Senator, very good having you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Neil. Always good to be on with you.
All right, we talk about